Assalamu alaikum and welcome everybody to the Four Brothers podcast. Today's topic is going to be around men being men. And what does that exactly mean? Find out when we get into the conversation. Just keep listening, folks. Vese, how's everybody doing?
Alhamdulillah.
That's your standard response, and honestly, it's a good response. Alhamdulillah indeed.
Can't complain.
Can't complain. Also good. Also good. Thankful.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Very thankful.
Men being men? What are we talking about here? What's the concept of men being men? Men are men.
No, not nowadays. Men are women as well nowadays.
Let's
You
not
guys
go
forget?
there.
Gender is a spectrum. आपको नहीं पता?
Okay,
So I can decide to be
guys,
whoever I
guys,
want now?
I'm just going to pause it right there. We're not going to that one. When I
What do you
came into
mean?
this,
It does involve. That's exactly what's happening nowadays too.
but we're talking about just in terms of behavior.
Are we talking about Andrew Tate?
Sure, you can call it that. Andrew Tate is a big person who promotes
What are we-
masculinity.
Is like
Well-
gold standard of masculinity?
Is that gold
No,
standard?
you know what?
Yeah.
What are you guys
don't
talking
talk
about,
bad
man?
about the brother. He's a brother now, so we gotta take it easy. I keep saying
Don't
that.
take it easy. Mashallah,
Yeah.
we should respect him.
I'm
Honestly,
actually happy
very
Andrew Tate
respectable.
converted to Islam. You know what? Talking about Andrew Tate, we're going to talk about men being men. But obviously, talking about Andrew Tate, he's obviously gone to a complete one extreme of being a man. But talking about that, remember this though. Him converting to Islam actually has a lot of people, a lot of youth thinking about Islam too.
It's true,
Just
actually.
FYI. But yes, let's get back to the original
That's it,
topic.
Andrew Tate was at the mosque the other day.
You,
'Cause
you can't stop talking about Andrew Tate, right?
he's top
Yeah.
G, man. He's top G for
Yeah.
a reason.
Top
I said,
G.
sorry, all this digressing. Osman, what's up? Bataiye.
Yeah, what are
Yeah.
you talking about, man?
Men being men. I mean, you guys are the ones who said, like, we need to tell the society about men who do domestic abuse and violence and why they shouldn't be doing that. And now that's a very bad thing of men doing, and that's not manly. I agree. So
Okay, yeah. So
elaborate.
so you brought up a very serious topic. And so getting back to a bit of seriousness. Yeah, domestic abuse has skyrocketed now, especially during COVID as well. It's become a lot more apparent as to the striking rate at which domestic abuse has risen. And the problem is as a man, if you're in a committed relationship, hopefully married, or if not, you're living together with your partner, you need to understand how to control your emotions. You need to understand that ever even coming close to ever hitting your partner is not an option, ever. And unfortunately, what's happening now is that a lot of these incidents are going unreported. And because of the COVID cycle and the lack of resources, when domestic abuses like these do happen, they go to an extreme point. Just a few weeks ago, some guy did murder his wife in Milton. Yeah.
Where's Milton?
Milton.
We're
Milton,
from
Ontario.
Chicago, Illinois. Milton, Ontario. So that's Canada? Is that how they say it?
Canada?
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah, no, I heard
But,
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, we've got an issue happening.
It's a problem,
now.
yes.
It's a problem. So he stabbed his wife to death in front of his children, right? Their children were teenagers. And then he left the house, but the cops caught up to him. That's just one recent incident that happened recently. But the point is a lot of these domestic abuses go unreported. Women stay silent because they want to safeguard their relationship or they want to stay committed. And they feel that if they were to change the balance, then they would cause some sort of uncomfort to themselves, or there may be additional danger to themselves and so on. So what I wanted to cover from that perspective was there's a concept where men have no friggin' idea on how to control their own feelings, how to control their own actions, regardless of what you deal with at the workplace, regardless of what you're dealing with in terms of stress or whatever it is. We need to talk about how they can control their emotions so these types of incidents don't happen as much.
Yeah, I don't know. Low energy, but we should bring it up, like change this to a discussion. Like,
Yeah.
so this Milton.
No. Come on, man. Bring it up.
Yeah, why don't women report like
Yeah, that's not a... Yeah,
like,
that's
why
not,
don't they though?
Well, there's multiple different reasons.
It's underreported.
Yeah,
It's
we won't get
underreported.
into that.
Even in like Western world.
Regardless of what we do, it will never, ever... That type of issue will never be fixed.
No, because there's zero tolerance. Okay, so
Yeah.
a fight is okay, couples fight, but there's a line you can never cross. And when the line goes to cross to physical, even emotional, That line you should never cross.
Yeah,
Like physical or
what
emotional
happens
abuse.
is it starts in one way. This is the
Yes.
pattern that goes on. Is first of all, it's verbal abuse, then it's emotional abuse, and it's manipulation, and then it goes into physical violence as well.
I'm on step
All
3.
of these, all of these are completely incategorically false.
What?
That's nothing. Sorry.
Well, what?
No.
We need to know why you're laughing, man.
I just said I'm on step 3 of that 4-step
my
scale.
brother, we need to have an intervention on you.
I'm just
Don't
kidding.
worry, we will keep
There's a lot of stress, man. There's a lot of stress.
That's what we're talking about,
That's
guys.
not an excuse.
Let's not have stress.
Yeah.
I think, man, thank you for sharing that story about the Milton incident. I had heard of it. I didn't know the extent.
I didn't know the details either. You're right.
That's the problem, man. When it happens, no one knows.
Yeah,
No one knows.
I
And it
think-
happened in our backyard, man.
I think you're
No, we're from Chicago, I don't know.
I think you like skipped so many steps ahead though. One of the things I want to make fun of about men is this. Like a lot of the times men, they only step up and become like big and strong and abusive or verbally start yelling to
Yeah.
people who are weaker than them. Like if you're able to yell at your wife, but then you go to the superstore and some guy comes and cuts you in line, you're just gonna be like, Biggie Billy, he cut me in line, I'm not gonna say a word to him. But if you go home and to your wife, you're like, blah, 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 blah. Like it's just stupid, right? Like, are you a man? Are you really a man when you can only do that to
No.
like the people who first of all you should be caring for more? Who first of all you should be a person who
Gentle,
protects them,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But and ulta, like you go outside and like people take advantage of you and stuff. You're just like that, like always inside your shell. But at home, you're the tiger. Is that a real man? That's
No,
kind of what I started saying
but-
this podcast with. How to be a real man? Like what is a true man, right?
That's true. No, that's a valid point. Baar jaake, they're when they step outside, they meet people like yourself. They go into the work field, they get stepped on, and at home they're
Usman is
trying
a
to
bully.
step on.
आपने उस्मान को bully बना दिया.
Disclaimer, guys.
They get stepped
First
on,
of all,
right? Outside, but at home they're stepping on their own family.
Look,
That's
yeah,
a sign that there are men, but they're weak men. know?
Exactly.
They're-
But
they're
just
weak men.
disclaimer. I'm not saying go outside and have a chip on your shoulder and look for a fight with
You
people.
know what? That's important, huh?
And personal anecdote, guys. Like when I'm like going to Costco, right? Very busy place. You get into arguments with people parking.
No, you shouldn't. They have such wide parking spots.
They do.
It's so wide. Why are you getting into arguments?
not.
That's why you get into arguments with people, not us.
It's about.
I think you're on like step 2 of that 4-step scale, by the way.
It's like pulling into the parking spot. I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
And man, like it happens, right? And people come in, they're looking to intimidate you, this and that. I'm not saying, be a tiger for like against them. Yeah, be smart, man. People are crazy out there. Be refined. Be a diplomatic person. Say, okay, you know what? Sorry, let's not escalate this. Go ahead, you park. I'll find something else.
Okay, I want to address a few things. So what does it take to be a man? What do you mean men should be men?
Like as he was saying, right? Emotional check. And recognize that you're being a tiger against someone who's weaker than you.
In
Right?
stressful
And
situations,
someone who you shouldn't even be like oppressive towards.
Yeah.
Your wife, your own wife.
it's easy to call yourself a man, but a true man shines in stressful situations. A true man fixes problems, not breaks problems, and a true man fixes relationship, does not end relationships, right?
Exactly.
So that's a sign of a true man. The
Being
other-
constructive and not destructive.
constructive and not destructive. Anabolic and not catabolic.
Dr.
What does all this mean? यार पता नहीं क्या कह रहे हो? ये क्या कह रहे हो?
Going back to that, whose fault is it for those guys behaving the way they do?
Their own
Is it
fault, man.
Is it it's their own fault?
Well-
but it falls down on their people who raised them.
Actually,
fatherly
yeah.
figures are
Yeah,
important as well.
That's a really
No,
good
no,
point,
I don't
man.
know, man.
That's a really
What
good
do you
point.
guys are
I'll tell
stretching?
you.
आप
No,
stretch
it's
कर रहे हो
not
बात.
stretching.
I'm not
It's not
stretching.
stretching.
आपके
No,
पास
that's a
कितना-
really good point.
One person, please.
Yeah,
One
experience
person.
it.
Sorry, I got to talk.
Ziba's eldest.
Yeah, I got to talk in between
it away.
because that's a really good point. You know, a lot of these men, how they build these habits is
How?
because they get support from their own family members. And a
What do
lot
you
of
mean?
times,
Sorry, explain.
the family members that are supporting them are their own parents.
Explain more. I'm not
I'll
following.
explain.
Okay,
I'll
go
explain.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So let's go to the root cause of this issue. There's a couple of other domestic cases. Where do you have more domestic abuse cases? In the Western world or in the Asia world? And it's actually surprisingly more in Asian world countries, especially Pakistan and India. And it's worst of all, it's still underreported there, and it's still more compared to the Western world.
Okay.
I'm not saying the Western world is doing so much better, but I did look at the stats. They're doing a tiny bit better. It should end. There should be no excuse for it. But take a look at two cases. There is this Pakistani Canadian female. Her name is Sara Nam. Unfortunately, she got murdered in Islamabad, I believe, in Pakistan. Actually, she wasn't. She was a Pakistani Canadian, but she was working in Dubai. But then she was sending money, her own money, and she just recently got married to a guy who was married 3 times. This was his 3rd wedding, and she got married to him in Pakistan, and she was sending him money. I don't know where he was using her money, and then while she went there, they probably had a small argument, and he ended up killing her. You know, whose fault was that? I would blame him, obviously.
What do you mean? Whose fault was that? The guy killed a
It's his fault.
person. Yeah.
It's his fault, but I do believe that the parents should be held accountable as well.
Why?
Parents of
Why?
the parents of the
Why
The
was
girl
he
or the guy?
why-
No.
This is his 3rd marriage. The girl, the guy, the guy's first, and even
I'd
the
say the
girl's
parents of
there.
the girl and the girl
Both,
said, "Why are you marrying
Okay.
someone?"
I
Both
think
should be
like,
taken
with
accountable.
a weird track
For-
record, yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying don't go off topic. Obviously, it's the guy's fault. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
no-brainer, right?
For sure.
Whose fault is it after that? I think 3rd wedding. Why is he marrying the 3rd time? What happened to the first 2? Mom and the father should have told the girl. Apparently,
Yeah.
they did.
Oh,
But-
mom of the
The
Of
guy.
the guys,
yeah.
yes.
Look,
Yeah.
man, when you're on your 3rd marriage and you've got your parents, like
Living
going,
in your parents' house. He's living in her parents' house.
and he's living with his parents' house, and they're hiding all his son's weaknesses and this and that, and not doing an intervention, and then they go on to support some sort of the behavior. Oh, nahi ladki aayegi aur wo theek ho jayegi.
वो आपको ठीक कर देगी.
Yeah, वो इसको
the
ठीक
new
कर
girl's
देगी,
gonna
yeah.
come. She's gonna fix
That's
you after
bullshit,
marriage.
man.
What
That's
type
the
of
biggest
behavior- what
bullshit.
type of
That's the-
stupid analogy is that?
Women are sold as crap, and it's not like we won't get into that, but that's bull.
If you're not ready for marriage,
Yeah,
you
don't
shouldn't
do it.
marry. If you're not ready to have kids, don't have kids. You know,
Yeah.
simple as that.
yeah. Let me. I think
Can I? Sorry.
GB.
Change topic slightly.
Uh,
Different part. Okay, go ahead.
Tiny
We're on a roll,
bit.
man.
I think what I was gonna say is, yeah, what's the reaction that a lot of the times husbands or men typically take when conflict arises? It's a reaction of, let's fight it, but it's never like a constructive thing or like, okay, let me just give an analogy, an example. Let's give the example of, for example, a woman, you know, she didn't have the house clean or खाने में नमक ज़्यादा था, right? The guy's reaction is going towards abuse. Oh, namak, like khana namkeen zyada kyun tha? Bang the table, plate is flying, you know, water is falling down. That's where the abuse comes. But man, why not have the reaction of just like communicate? Just say, BVG or my dear wife,
हाथ जरा
हाथ
हिल गया था।
जरा नमक पे हल्का रखें. Or like don't put
Or you
too
can
much
turn
salt.
it into a joke.
Make it a joke.
Yeah,
right?
like मैंने सुबह कम नमक डाला था अंडे के ऊपर अब इसलिए ज़्यादा डाल दिया अभी, you know, stuff like that. Anything to make a
Like,
joke.
the-
And in regards to the house cleaning,
Yeah,
help
you're-
in the house
You're a
cleaning.
man, like jobs पे गालियाँ खा के रहे हो, घर में भी नमक ज़्यादा मिल गया खाने में, पैसे टाइट ने बाहर से खाना मंगवाना पड़ गया रात को, and stuff like काफी negative energy शुरू हो जाती है.
हो
Like,
जाती है,
ज़ाहिर
लेकिन
बात
भाई,
है, you're gonna have a little bit of an
what
overreaction.
we're saying is communicate. Yeah, just communicate. Be like, hey man,
Listen,
like listen, wife, that I didn't like that food too much. You know,
You know what
it's too
happens?
namkeen.
a bit of an
Okay.
overreaction is okay.
Hmm.
Every day is not okay.
That's true.
right.
Okay.
So
But-
once in a while it happens, guys.
Yeah.
But every day is not okay. And
I agree.
and you must know, it can't be tit for tat. It might be, but someone has to know when to stop. You know, especially when you have kids, because your interaction with each other not only
Yeah.
affects you guys, it affects the surrounding kids, too.
Yeah.
I made a video on that.
उसको हम link करते हैं जी हाँ, cross marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acha, I want to talk about another topic, which I think is important.
Yeah.
It kind of ties to this whole men being men situation. And I also think it ties into the South Asian mindset too in a way. So topic ye or baat ye, there's a lot of guys who I hear of and who are innately just very suspicious. They're just very cynical, very suspicious, particularly of their wives. And I keep hearing these weird stories and stuff. जी बीवी से like
पैसे चोरी कर दिए बीवी ने.
नहीं like हर चीज पे शक्की होना शक्की just शक्की मिजाज है उनका right
Yeah.
I didn't even
like-
follow that for a little bit.
no
I
just
got it.
super suspicious right
Yeah.
so
They always suspect their wives to be doing something.
yeah like what are you on your phone for like who are you talking to and whatnot and बिचारी
Yeah.
बीवी like अभी नई नई Canada she doesn't even have friends and stuff and like no you can't go outside you're gonna get locked in her
Yeah.
like you know
You know, that
just-
goes to the
they're,
extreme where
they're taking their rights
Yeah.
away and unfortunately a lot of these folks are from subcontinent and a lot of
Yeah.
these folks we're Muslims so let's relate to our Muslim sort of demographic they bring such a bad name to Islam they take away all these women's rights as a
Absolutely.
result in their attempt to be masculine, but ye kya backwards sara ho raha hai? Like, I
Actually,
just
you
don't
know
get
what?
it.
What's funny is this is happening in Canada a lot more than
Very
you guys
much.
even think.
Very
a
much.
lot of these guys didn't
Huh.
even let their wives or their partners go outside the house.
How does that make any
They force
sense?
them to wear certain dresses which are more conservative, just because even if she, for instance, does her nails or anything like that, they'll be like, "Oh, why did you get your nails done today?" Because they have such low self-confidence, such low self-esteem that it projects to the point where even if another man or if she becomes being the attractive partner that he thinks she is, right?
Yeah.
And she goes outside and other men would look at her, it would cause him to just crush or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't understand the mindset, but I've studied it extensively.
And beyond relationships, like we're not trying to do marriage counseling here, but
No.
beyond relationships, it just goes in dealings too. Like just lack of mistrust for anybody and everybody, right?
I don't think those
like-
guys, those types
like
of guys are
Shaki
usually
hona.
very weak, man.
शकी होना like
Yeah.
हर बंदे से जो भी मिला है like oh इसने तो like within our own community, I'm just talking South Asian community, I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that
yeah.
a lot, especially of the older generation.
That's why
I wanted to say
Yeah, tell me.
one ayah from the Quran. I just to
Please.
put a religious touch on this. Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hujurat, and it's Surah 49, ayah 12, and it says, and translated in English for our viewers, "O believers, avoid many suspicions, for indeed some suspicions are sinful, and do not spy nor backbite one another." But just look at the gravity of that divine
Yeah.
sort of ayah. Like, avoid suspicion. As in, if you're a Muslim, male, female, but be a man and be a strong character, avoid the suspicion. Stop being shaki, right?
Yeah.
पता नहीं क्या तकलीफ आप सारों को क्यों इतने शकी होते हैं? Just have a more positive lifestyle, positive outlook, and
Yeah.
and give people the benefit of the doubt. How about you sway on the other side of the spectrum? Just
They're not busy enough, man. They're not busy enough there. That's how they
I
are.
think yeah, you hit it on nail on the head. यार टाइम उनके पास ज़्यादा है दिमाग में कहानियाँ बनाने के लिए.
Yeah, they're not busy enough. Movie chal rahi hoti hai. That's what it's force fed into their brains, right?
Yeah,
The thing is, you know
go
how
ahead.
we're talking about these wives coming to Canada. They're under this immense pressure. These male or these men not treating them well. You know, that's why I think it's important for male figures to step into whenever they're getting their daughters married. Who knows men better than other men? No one, right? So the male figures, especially the fathers, need to step up in when their daughters are getting married, to step up and understand who this guy is. Try to find out every single detail about this guy. Is this guy a shaki guy? Is this guy a sensitive guy? How many previous marriages has he had? You know, does he have any kids prior? He knows to dig up, and that's why it's important for the father of the daughter to know all these things beforehand. Like the case of the Sarah Nam, she got married, and the parents didn't really have too much of a say in it, which I just don't understand. Mind blowing.
yeah, Raja Rani ko pyar ho gaya. Like,
Yeah, I think you
Mia
should add
Bibi
a
Razi kya
disclaimer
kar
to
lega
that.
Ghazi. Like, you can't stop that too much, man.
Rizwan,
these
I think
days.
you need a disclaimer to that. We're not saying people who have had previous marriages or this and that are bad, right? It's not like a yes or no tick box. Agar pehle shaadi thi bura. It's more about character, I think, that you're talking about, and understand.
Yeah,
agar
yeah,
pehle
understand
shaadi-
the
reference
character.
check कर रहे हैं आप background check reference check
तीन चार reference चाहिए. I need to know every single thing. yeah.
पुरानी बीवियों का कि किस का
पुरानी बीवियों का नहीं, पुरानी
Just kidding, yeah.
every single
He's right.
person, yes.
I would do the entire background check on.
You know, there's a
on
funny
the dude.
story here, and I don't know if you're happy to share, but our brother here, when Usman was getting married, his father-in-law did a background check and
through friends, through friends,
through
friends,
through friends, quote unquote.
Yeah. I know,
and he
I know.
actually found some very suspicious results.
No, you barely got 51%, 1% over
So-
the passing
so-
limit.
No,
so
but
what
I'll
happened
I'll
is-
tell you something very interesting about that.
Yeah.
So yes, he did a background check through friends. He came to know of some things that were.
Well, you were a gangbanger, huh? You're like a that's what came out of it. This guy's a gangbanger, and all of his brothers are gangbangers too. Like what?
We're drug dealers or something like that.
That was
Okay.
that was what your friend told
So
your father-in-law.
interestingly enough, look at how much of like an honorable person my father-in-law is.
Yeah.
He came to me with that information and laid it out. He's like, "Hey man, I heard this. Like, why don't you talk to me about this?" And again, being a true man, I hit
True man. Oh.
well. You know,
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we
That's
strive.
pretty
Father-in-law,
confident.
I'm a big fan of
Look,
your father-in-law.
We
Well,
strive.
yeah,
to be,
I'm
we
talking about
strive to
him
be.
classifying himself as a true man.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this was an action of a true man. Let's just say
Yes,
it as that.
I'm
Maybe
kidding,
not
man,
all
I'm
of our
kidding.
actions are of true men, but we strive for them to be. I addressed it head on and said, "Uncle, look, you have these concerns. Some of these things are a little bit
True.
Some
But I've changed.
They're mislabeled,
Yeah.
You know, this is the person I am. This is who I am. This is how our interaction has been. You know, our father, of course, very honorable.
That's
He
it.
he treats our father like his older brother.
Yes,
Mashallah,
yes.
like, you know,
Yeah.
one of a kind father-in-law, I would say. But yeah, interesting story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good.
What
it's
did you
good.
actually tell him? How did you convince him? That was a pretty
It wasn't
important
really a
point.
convincing thing. He and I were at a breakfast when we were talking about this.
So I was invited to breakfast too, but you know what I did? I didn't go because I
You
thought
left him on his own.
No, I thought it best for them to talk it out properly,
Yeah.
one on one, just so
Yeah.
it's more intimate, more private. I don't want to be the third wheel, but I just didn't want to interfere in that situation. That's all. But yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
date. Well, no.
so not a date, but I meant like
yes, you were at the golf before that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
remember,
There was, and I
remember.
sort of strategically backed out.
Yeah. No, how did I address it? Really, I like a true man, as I said, I addressed it head on. I spoke to him about it and openly talked to him that, you know, there are some things in life that as a younger person that you may do, but you change. And interestingly enough, he shared anecdotes of his own life.
He was the
Similar-
gangbanger.
Similar. He's just like,
Real, recognize real.
let me give
Yo, you know, we all have our own stories.
उर्दू में
yeah.
एडवाइस में उनकी देता हूँ. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he said जब मैं भी मुकाबले में फिजिकल फाइट में होता था, मैं एक बंदे को पकड़ के उसको पीट देता था. अगर 2-3 लोग मेरे पीछे आते थे. Is his strategy if he ever got into a fight. But anyways, it's a joke really. But honorable guy, honorable way to handle such a situation, I would say. One thing you touched upon that I did want to just clarify this on the Shaki topic. Yeah, like if you as a man can't handle a certain personality of a woman, if maybe they're very sociable, they're a social butterfly, they go and talk to everyone kind of thing, then understand that prior to marriage, or prior to marriage, I'm going to say I don't believe in any other kind of relationship. Let's just put that out there, very adamant on that. Then don't go into a relationship with such a person, right? Like, for example, if you want him to be wearing certain clothes, and again, in Islam, like, there is certain things that are ordained for women to be dressed like, and your prospective wife isn't doing that, and that's a big issue for you, then don't go into that marriage, right?
Yeah, and you can't force anyone to change
Don't
after marriage.
force.
You can lead by example, and if they want to follow, they can follow.
And by encouragement.
Yeah,
And not by
encouragement.
negative
Yes.
enforcement,
Yes.
encouragement.
Yeah,
Because
they're
that's
not
the
your
way
kid.
of our prophets.
They're your
ﷺ.
partner. They're
Like
not your kid.
what's the ayah, man? It's in Surah Baqarah.
I'm not हाफिज यार, मैं मेरे
Yeah.
पीछे क्यों पड़े हो?
La
किसी और को देखो.
La ikraha fi din, I
There's
believe.
no
right?
enforcement in
There's
religion.
no- yes,
तो
there's
आप
no
क्या
compulsion.
किस-
There's no
compulsion,
compulsion. in
Compulsion.
religion, right?
That's the key word.
अच्छा.
So, yeah.
नहीं यार, लेकिन ये बात ठीक है. शक्की, I'm very disappointed in a lot of people जो शक्की होते हैं. And forget about relationships, just in day-to-day dealings, like shopkeeper के साथ, contractor के साथ, जो बाहर like किसी नए बंदे को मिले हैं वगैरह, just शक्की होना, it's just very off-putting, but it's rampant too, I think. Like you said, self-confidence, the lack of self-esteem.
Self-esteem.
That was well said.
Yeah.
अच्छा लगा था.
The problem is these men, they don't have any self-esteem. So
Mhm.
what happens is if they see anyone within who they feel they have control over, it could be their child, it could be their wives, it could be anyone, even their sister, right? They will do everything it takes to control them because they have such a low self-esteem. Like if they outshine them in any aspect of life,
Yeah.
they will control them. They will try to hide them away.
I want to say something.
You'd be surprised how many brothers
I want to say
go
something
out
before.
and try to control their sisters.
Okay.
Yeah,
in
the
our
Islam.
subcontinent.
Listen, we're obviously of a Pakistani background, but I want to say something. Please don't confuse this. Islam. Don't confuse our culture with Islam. The
Yeah.
Pakistani culture was derived from the Hindu culture, to be honest,
Yeah.
and unfortunately that still persists a lot throughout our community,
Like,
especially
yeah.
in Pakistan as well.
Jahez is a good example.
We do not believe in the Pakistani culture of dealing with females and the females dealing with their husbands as well. Both ways, I don't agree with that. We deal with the Islamic way of how to deal with your wife. And how is that? The main thing is Islam was brought to us to give females more respect. We were the first religion to give females more respect, and the men were there to lead by example. In a family setting, lead with compassion, lead with love, you know? And I just want to make sure we address that point.
Because there's so many more topics like jealousy and, just lack of being vocal. जिस तरह आप कह रहे थे parking lot में किसी ने cut off कर लिए. There's more topics list, but I think time खत्म हो रहा है, so maybe.
यार टाइम तो खत्म हो रहा है, लेकिन
But
I
end
think-
on a good note. I want you to tell everybody how men.
आपका mic बहुत दूर है यार, थोड़ा.
I want,
आवाज़ नहीं आ रही.
even though we're like lack of time, I want you to end up on a good note. You know, men being men is very important, and exactly what people, how people should strive to be good men and what they should not do.
You're putting a lot of pressure on them.
आप बताओ आपने बता तो दिया बस यही
Yeah.
गुड नोट था.
Okay, there you go. There
Yeah.
you go.
Any like good final words for the
Last
viewers,
final
because
thoughts,
we
everybody.
did kind of go a little bit deep into something. I want someone to summarize it.
Yeah,
up,
so
really.
look, this is the day of the social media, right? For any women who are dealing with domestic abuse, please speak out. Do not
We're your
hide
four
it,
brothers.
right? Seek help. There are
भैया
a lot of agencies within.
आपके सही हैं हम. Just kidding. Keep going.
Yeah, there's a lot of agencies that specialize in these types of incidents. Please seek help.
That's
Yeah,
That's
you know what?
extremely important.
I think we need to maybe put some links in for people who don't know, right? Where to
Yeah.
get this kind of help from. Nisa Homes, I've worked with them a little bit before.
Yep.
Nisa in Arabic language means women. They support women who are facing such issues. Dr. Saab, a lot of helplines.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of
hotlines.
helplines, and being in a Western world, that's an advantage here. There's zero tolerance. That's a beautiful advantage. There's zero tolerance for any physical abuse. You can always reach out to the local police, but above that, you always have helplines if you're stressed under stressful situations too.
And this goes
And we'll
for
put those numbers in
both
our
genders, really.
Exactly, goes for
We'll
both
talk
genders.
about that next time, यार. ये
Yeah.
वो लंबा topic
Yeah.
हो जाएगा.
I didn't want to get into like what can a woman do better, because a lot of people are just going to say, what are four men doing here prescribing things that women can do better, right?
आपने
But that's
कहा भी
Yeah,
नहीं है.
that's
Women
not our
can't do
focus.
better. They're already perfect. Yeah,
अच्छा, guys, guys.
बिल्कुल ठीक है
हमारे कैमरे की बैटरी कम हो रही है. बच्चों को भी सुलाना है तो
टाइम क्या हो गया
काफी लेट हो गया.
घर जाके मार नहीं खानी आप लोगों ने.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Good discussion. Hope you guys benefited as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. This is some good guftagu, as we say in Urdu. Good discussion.
How
Very
can you be a
beneficial.
man?
How can you be a man? Andrew Tate's a man. I don't know why I said that, but masculinity is something that we need to be focused on. All right,
You and
folks.
Andrew
That's your
Tate.
four brothers signing out.